The Midnight Club accident. In the late 1990s, Japan's had an illegal street racing club called the Midnight Club, a secret group of elite street racers who ruled the Wangan Highway around Tokyo Bay. Their cars were engineering masterpieces built for one goal: to break 300 kilometers per hour on public roads. But in 1999, everything changed. That night, around 2 a.m., 6 cars, including Nissan Skylines, RX-7s, and Supras, gathered for what was supposed to be a quiet high-speed run from Tokyo to Yokohama. Among them was a racer, identified only as Kenji Watanabe, driving a silver Ferrari F355, rumored to be pushing over 350 kilometers per hour at top speed. As the race began, they tore through the Bayshore route like ghosts, headlights flickering past trucks and taxis. Near the Yokohama stretch, chaos erupted. Reports say a biker gang known as Bosozoku appeared on the same route, trying to provoke the racers. One of the bikes clipped a car at high speed, triggering a chain reaction. Watanabe's Ferrari swerved, slammed into a barrier, and exploded instantly. 2 bikers and several drivers were caught in the fire that followed. By dawn, wreckage covered nearly half a kilometer of highway. Twisted steel, melted tires, and debris scattered across the Wangan. The Japanese police later shut down sections of the expressway for investigation, but no official statement ever confirmed what truly happened. Rumors spread fast that multiple racers died, that the Midnight Club disbanded that very night out of respect. To this day, no formal record exists, but those who lived through Japan's underground racing golden age still whisper about it. Medellin Street Circuit Incident. In October 2020, Medellin's industrial zone became the scene of one of Colombia's most tragic illegal racing deaths. Andres Escobar, a 24-year-old mechanic and local racing prodigy, was testing his Nissan Silvia S15, freshly rebuilt for a major underground race. Known for his aggressive but precise driving style, Andres was called El Hijo del Fuego, the son of fire, because he never raced without flames painted along his car's sides. That night, the race drew a massive crowd along the Medellin street circuit, a long loop through Old Warehouse Road. It was past midnight when Andres lined up beside a black Mitsubishi Evo, his Silvia's exhaust popping under launch control. When the signal went off, both cars exploded forward, tearing down the stretch at more than 200 kilometers per hour. At the halfway mark, spectators caught something terrifying on camera: sparks under Andres's car. Unknown to him, one of the lower bolts on his suspension arm had snapped. Just seconds later, as he entered a left curve, the front wheel locked. The Silvia shot off course, slammed into a concrete barrier, flipped, and hit a light pole roof first. The entire front section disintegrated. The crowd went silent. When rescuers reached the wreck, they found the engine block separated from the chassis, and the cockpit crushed. Andres died instantly. The roll cage had given way on the second impact. Johannesburg street race incident. On the night of August 10, 2019, the usually quiet outskirts of Johannesburg turned into chaos. A crowd of nearly 200 people had gathered on an empty stretch near Soweto for a late-night street race. Among the racers was Nokwanda Noki Mathembu, one of the very few female street racers in South Africa. At 29, she was known for her fearless driving behind the wheel of her turbocharged BMW M3, earning her the nickname Queen of Soweto Speed. Her opponent that night drove a modified Golf GTI, the matchup everyone had been waiting for. As the signal flared, both cars launched forward, engines roaring through the night. Noki's BMW surged ahead early, her tires screaming against the asphalt as the crowd cheered. But halfway through the run, everything changed. A stray dog suddenly darted across the road. The GTI driver swerved first, narrowly missing it. Noki, just behind him, reacted instinctively and pulled left. At nearly 180 kilometers per hour, that single movement was fatal. Her BMW lost traction, spun sideways, and slammed into a concrete pole. The car split in half on impact. The cheers turned into screams. Flames erupted from the engine bay as people rushed toward the wreck, but the heat was too intense to get close. Noki was killed instantly. The car's front half lay smoking in the middle of the road, the rear thrown into a nearby ditch. Accokeek drag race disaster. On May 31, 2008, the quiet town of Accokeek, Maryland, turned into the site of one of the deadliest illegal drag racing incidents in U.S. history. That night, a crowd of nearly 200 people gathered along Indian Head Highway, a flat, straight stretch known locally as a hotspot for underground races. 2 modified Mustangs lined up side by side, engines revving so loud they echoed through the dark fields. The crowd moved dangerously close to the road, forming a human corridor just meters from the starting line. At around 3:30 a.m., the flag dropped. Both cars launched forward, tires screeching, smoke filling the air. Witnesses said the roar of the engines drowned out everything else, but seconds later, headlights appeared from the opposite lane. A Dodge Charger not involved in the race was driving northbound, unaware of what was happening. Before anyone could react, one of the Mustangs veered slightly across the center line, and the Charger plowed straight into the crowd. The impact was catastrophic. Bodies and debris were thrown across the highway. The scene went silent in seconds, replaced by screams and the crackle of burning metal. When emergency responders arrived, they found 8 people dead on the spot, with another dying later at the hospital. Shoes, car parts, and shattered phones littered the asphalt for nearly 200 meters. The Mustang drivers fled immediately, but the devastation they caused was irreversible. Kanjo King death incident. In February 2018, the Osaka Kanjo Loop, Japan's most infamous urban circuit, echoed with the roar of illegal racers. Among them was Takuya Kawasaki, a 26-year-old street legend known for his Honda Civic EK9 Type R, a car stripped down and tuned purely for the loop. He was one of the few who could drift through the narrow elevated highways at over 160 kilometers per hour, weaving between traffic like it was a video game. That night, police patrols were rumored to be closing in on the Kanjo racers. Instead of laying low, Takuya decided to go for one last run. Dashcam footage from another racer later showed his Civic darting through the curved lanes, sparks flying as his bumper scraped the guardrails. Near the Nishi-Nagahori exit, Takuya attempted a risky overtake between 2 cars, but the space was too tight. His rear wheel clipped a barrier, sending the Civic spinning across the lane. The car slammed sideways into a tunnel wall, flipped, and slid nearly 100 meters before bursting into flames. The impact was so violent that it shattered sections of the tunnel lights above. Bystanders called emergency services immediately, but when rescue crews arrived, the car was already engulfed. The melted roll cage and crushed frame left no chance of survival. Takuya's death sent shockwaves through Japan's underground racing circles, the end of one of the last Kanjo Kings. Pennsylvania Street Race Incident. On June 20th, 2011, the roads of West Goshen Township, Pennsylvania, turned deadly. Ryan Dunn, best known from Jackass, was behind the wheel of his Porsche 911 GT3, with his friend Zachary Hartwell riding shotgun. It wasn't a film stunt that night, just a late-night street run with friends after leaving a bar. Witnesses said Dunn had been showing off the car's speed earlier, hitting near 130 miles per hour on rural roads meant for 45. Around 2:30 a.m., the Porsche's headlights were last seen streaking down Route 322 before vanishing around a bend. What happened next was catastrophic. At over 180 kilometers per hour, Dunn lost control. The Porsche veered off the road, clipped a guardrail, launched into a patch of trees, and exploded on impact. The car was reduced to ash within minutes. When responders arrived, there was barely anything left of the vehicle, just a burning frame and debris scattered for nearly 100 yards. Both Dunn and Hartwell were killed instantly. The heat from the fire was so intense, it scorched nearby trees black. The Belfast Street Race Tragedy. On October 21st, 2018, 22-year-old Declan Donnelly, a rising amateur boxer from Belfast, joined an illegal midnight race on the Sydenham Bypass. Known among friends for his obsession with fast cars, Declan had recently modified his silver Honda Civic Type R for underground runs. The race was set between 4 drivers, all competing for £500 wager and bragging rights in the local scene. Just past 2 a.m., the race began. The cars tore through the bypass, engines echoing against the industrial walls. Dashcam footage from a nearby vehicle later showed Donnelly's Civic pulling ahead early, shifting through gears at nearly 120 miles per hour. For several minutes, everything appeared under control, until the group reached a long curve near D Street Bridge. Investigators later determined that Donnelly's front suspension had failed due to a loose bolt from recent tuning. As he attempted to correct the swerve, the Civic clipped the median, launched across the opposite lane, and struck a lamppost head-on. The car split in two. The engine block was found nearly 40 feet away. Emergency crews arrived within minutes, but Declan was pronounced dead at the scene. The crash was so violent that debris spread across 4 lanes, halting traffic for hours. Forensic experts later confirmed the modifications had weakened the suspension assembly. His friends, the same racers who challenged him, were later charged with reckless driving and unlawful racing. The Mexico City Street Race Incident. On March 22, 2014, Mexico City's Periférico Sur Highway turned into an illegal racetrack. Dozens gathered in the early morning hours for a high-stakes street race between local crews. Among them was Luis Fernandez, nicknamed El Toro for his wild, fearless driving. He was only 27, but already infamous across Mexico's underground racing scene for pushing his Nissan GTR far beyond safe limits. At 3 a.m., 2 lanes of the 6-lane highway were cleared by spotters with walkie-talkies. The bet, $5,000 and bragging rights. Luis faced a heavily modified Mustang, both engines roaring under the overpass lights. When the starter dropped a rag, they launched 0 to 120 miles per hour in seconds. Witnesses filming from the roadside said sparks showered as the GTR skimmed the divider. Halfway down the stretch, a delivery truck unexpectedly merged onto the route from a side service ramp. The Mustang swerved in time. Luis, already redlining, tried to cut right but clipped the rear corner of the truck. The GTR instantly snapped sideways, slammed the median, and went airborne, rolling over twice before landing roof first on the opposite lane. Spectators ran toward the wreck as smoke poured out. The car's front half was crushed. Its roll cage had failed on impact. Luis was still strapped in, unconscious, with the steering column pressed into his chest. He died within seconds from massive internal injuries. When emergency crews arrived, the wrecked GTR was still smoldering, its twin turbos glowing red from heat. The scene looked like a scrapyard explosion, one of the worst crashes ever recorded in Mexico's street racing circuit.